Hi everyone, on today's episode we are talking about mental blocks. Mental blocks can be quite a complex topic. It's not that easy to talk about. However, I know that we all go through this, so I think it is very important for us to talk about it and help each other out in this situation. I am not a healthcare professional, I'm not a psychologist. This is just me speaking from my own experience. I've been skating for over 23 years. That allowed me to experience all the highs, all the lows, all the challenges. Mental blocks are a part of every stage of skating. It doesn't mean that just because you just started skating that's the reason why you experience mental blocks. We are all experiencing this. No matter how much I trained and how I attained all the jumps that I did, I still experienced mental blocks. I remember there was a year of me competing where everything went well. I was really ready for my competitions, and at that time I did all triples up until triple axel. And I came to practice and I just was afraid to jump from literally nothing. It was hard for me to rotate triples and obviously putting them into the program, and I remember I was gonna have a competition the next week and it was just so much stress. While I can reflect on it now as a very good learning experience, at that time I remember how difficult it was. That's why I think it's so important that we have this talk now, and I want to talk about it, and I want you guys to feel comfortable enough that we can all overcome this. Don't feel like you're going through this alone, because we are all experiencing this. And I hope that today, with me sharing my own experiences and my tips that have helped me and helped me now overcoming my mental blocks in skating, that will help you as well. As I said, I've experienced mental blocks for various different stages of my skating journey, and I am at the point right now where I feel confident to share my own strategies and what I do that helps me overcome mental blocks right now. But before that, I want to talk about what I do to prevent mental blocks from even escalating, from even starting to happen, especially when it comes to jumping. The first thing that I do the easier version of the jump. So let's say I work on triple lutz and I get on the ice and I want to work on triple lutzes. I do a lot of doubles first, double lutzes, until I feel comfortable enough to even go for a triple. I know that I am in a point of my skating journey where there's no point of me trying to attempt a triple lutz when I am not feeling ready. I know that will cause me to fall into my mental blocks, into that cycle. It has me scared for injuries, so I really make sure that it doesn't matter how many of the easier version of that element that I do. One day I could get on the ice and I do one double lutz and I feel amazing, and I go and do my triple lutz, and most likely I feel confident and I'm not worried. So I'm also minimizing popping, which is another topic for another day. But I could come another day and I might do two doubles and I feel ready, and maybe I do one double and it's awful, and I do another double and it's a little bit better, but not to the point where I'm confident enough that if I go for the rotation of a triple lutz, that I will be feeling confident and ready and not holding myself back. So that's what I do with everything. And you can apply that not just to triple lutzes, you can apply that to any element that you're doing currently. Whether this is working on a single axel, if you feel like you have this block that holds you back from attempting a single axel, do waltz jumps, do waltz jumps into back scratch spins, do back scratch spins, do practice them on the floor. Do everything that it takes for you to feel confident right before you're going into the jump. Practice to the point where you feel like, okay, now I feel ready, and I feel ready to do the jump, to attempt the jump. Even if I fall, I am ready mentally. So that's one thing that I want to give on to you guys, is something that has helped me so much. And that could also apply to spins. If you're working on flying entries and that scares you, work on, for instance, if you're working on butterfly, right? Work on back camel spins. Feel how you're comfortable with that. Work on flying camel spins. Work on the walkthrough. walk through the motion. Make sure that your body is ready to the point where all you need to do is trust yourself. So this is what I do to prevent from falling into having a mental block. And I wish when I was younger, I understood that to a better point. I feel like I would have been doing a much better job at just doing the simpler version and then trusting myself. I also built self-confidence rather than trying to work against my own self. You know what I mean? So that is to prevent mental blocks. So let's say you're already in a situation where you're experiencing mental blocks. In that moment, try to breathe. Try to focus on your breath. I do that all the time. When I am feeling a little bit anxious about something on the ice, I try to focus on my breathing. What usually helps me a lot is the square breathing, where you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, you exhale for 4 seconds, and then you hold an empty breath for 4 seconds. So you do that over and over again until your nervous system calms down. And that really helps you get a better picture of what is going on, because once you are in this moment, you want to try to come out of it, right? So you're stuck in this moment where you feel like you are just blocked by everything possible, and then you want to try to get yourself out of there. And the first step to do so is to allow yourself to make some space, right? So I create space by breathing techniques, or by making sure that I am in the moment. I look around and I'm looking at everything that I see, and that just brings me back to being present. And that really helps me to kind of separate my mental block from myself and not make myself identify with my mental block. So that's what I do, and that has really helped me, and that's what I would encourage a friend. If somebody comes up to me and tells me, Yasmin, I have a mental block and I don't know how to get out of it. So first thing that I would do is tell them to try to do this breathing technique. Try to come out of that situation. Try to put yourself in a more clearer mind space. And from there, I would tell them to work on the simpler version of the element, to feel confident again, to gain that confidence back slowly, step by step. They say take 1 step back, takes 2 steps forward, right? So in that same manner, that's how I would approach it. And if you still feel uncomfortable, then work on something else and return back to it the next day once you feel more calm and more confident within yourself. And maybe wait until you work on it again with your coach to have that assistance and not just doing it on your own, which can also feel kind of scary at times. My second tip to controlling your mental block goes kind of hand in hand with my first tip of calming down and taking yourself away from that situation. That is to be your own best friend in that situation. And that goes to self-talk. How do you talk to yourself when you experience a mental block? Do you support yourself through it, or do you feel like you're supporting the mental block? I think with everything in life, when you experience hardship, it can be really difficult at times to be your own best friend, but you have to work on that to overcome challenges, to become more resilient. In that moment, it's you versus you, and you want to be your support system that brings you out of this situation. So what I do, I like to think of it like I would talk to a friend. Again, somebody would come up to me and to ask me, Yasmin, what do I do in this situation? And I would give that person these pieces of advice, like I told you earlier about calming down, breathing, working on the easier version of it, and then moving on to the harder version or moving on to a different element. I would probably also tell them that it's okay, that don't worry about that situation, that it doesn't matter, it doesn't take any worth from you, it doesn't make you a worse skater, it doesn't make you a lesser person, worthy of achieving whatever you want to achieve in this sport. Those are things that I would tell somebody else, and in that moment, these things are probably the things that you need to hear from somebody. And sometimes you might be on your own and you do not have like that immediate friend that helps you out in that situation. And maybe you're like me, I don't really love to talk about these things to somebody else. So then be your own best support. Tell yourself these things like you would to a friend. If you feel comfortable enough to write in the comments what helps you overcome mental blocks. I feel like this is a great opportunity for all of us to learn from one another and see the different types of strategies that the skaters have, and maybe then curate your own. For example, maybe somebody takes a little bit of something that I said and then reads some other comment that resonates with them more than the other parts that I said from my own experience, and so they can then come up with their own combination that works for them. That is what this whole point is of Exchange and Evolve, that we can exchange our own experiences and from there evolve into our best selves. I'm really excited to read through your comments. Again, only do so if you feel comfortable. I know it's quite a vulnerable topic, so I do not want to pressure you in any way or form, but if you feel comfortable enough, I am very much looking forward to it, and I know that I can always learn more. Life is all about continuous learning, and I'm excited to learn new strategies that I will also implement in my life. And don't forget, this whole thing that you're going through right now might seem like it is only skating based, but trust me when I say this, in life later on you might go through something similar, like that you feel a similar way, and if you're able to overcome your mental blocks on the ice, you will be able to come out of that situation with these steps of resilience. And each time you are facing a mental block and you are overcoming it, you are not avoiding it, you are actively trying your best to come out of it, it gets a little bit easier each time. That's something that I would give on to a younger self of mine, is that I know in that situation it feels like it's the biggest deal in the world and it will never get better, but it will. It gets better. Just know that every time you build a little bit more resilience, and it just gets easier and easier and easier from there. That doesn't mean that mental blocks and challenges in life will never occur. It just means that you are able to handle them in a better way. Thank you again so much for watching, and thank you so much for being here. I love you all, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.